Oh my gosh. Let's do this thing.
All right, here we go.
Woo!
No
I don't even
headphones.
need headphones
No
today.
headphones, nope.
Man, habits, old habits die hard. So hard.
News Radio 94.9, 890 KDXU. Welcome. It is Thursday. That means it's time for the St. George Real Estate Thursday Morning Drive with Jeremy Larkin.
That's me.
That's
Good morning, everybody. Hey, and good day to all of our friends. You know, it's kind of fun. We've had a couple of shows that we pre-recorded. And with the holidays and people's schedules and the complications of how that goes, we actually have pre-recorded the show today. So as you're listening Thursday morning, full disclosure, this is not live. It's actually being recorded on Tuesday, New Year's Eve. Should we get specific, Andy? There you go. And you did a great job setting it up. 10:27 a.m. on Tuesday, 12:31.
You made me a liar, though.
Yeah, I know. Well, you didn't, but you said good morning. You're not a liar. I saved you from being a liar.
Okay, thank you.
But I think it's nice because we have a lot of folks who watch this on Facebook Live and they watch this on YouTube Live. Now, you can, if you want to watch this on Facebook, see our pretty faces, at the side of Andy's face, the side of my face, and the front of Jesse's face because of the way we stand in the studio. I could turn this way a little bit more. You're going to want to visit us at facebook.com/Jeremy Larkin or facebook.com/St. George Experts, actually, as you know, we put it on our Facebook page.
Nice.
So I could ask this morning if anybody got hammered for New Year's Eve, except for that would really be lying because that would be running into the future.
Not here yet.
That hasn't even
This is
happened
not
yet.
Back to the Future or Into the Future.
This
or-
is, I know, I love that film. Watched it a few weeks ago, Back to the Future. Marty, take me back to 1955 from 85. I've got Jesse Paul in the studio here, co-host, business
morning.
partner, good human. He definitely falls in the good human category. Jesse, we're going to tell these people today. Now, by the way, I mean, I guess we could, this data might be one day off, but I doubt it. We're going to share with you today, Andy, the most expensive home sale in Washington County in 2019.
Sure.
The least expensive home sale in Washington County in 2019. And we're going to talk about averages, correct, Jesse?
Yes,
Have I led anyone astray at this point?
you have not.
But you know, it's so amazing because we're actually reaching the end of a decade, right? So we said, what do we call the early 2000s? The 2000. What is that?
Yeah, just the 2000s.
Because there's this, because you know when you go, right? Because look, you go to, I'm on satellite radio.
End of a decade. Wow.
Yeah, end of a decade. I'm on Sirius XM. So there's 80s on 8, 70s on 7, 80s on 8, you know, all that kind of thing.
Right.
But what is it now? Is it 2020s?
20s on.
Is it the 2000 teens? So the 2000s,
The
it may
2020s?
just be the 2000s, 2010. The 2000 teens is 2010 and 19.
Yeah.
And then the 2020s, the 2030s.
The roaring
Okay.
20s. Hey,
Okay.
the roaring 20s are back.
I think that 10 years though of 2000 to 2010 is weird. Should we just call it 2000s? Let's go with that.
Sure.
So we are at the end of a decade, and not that it really matters because you know what I mean. Tomorrow's another day, and the day after it's another day, and at the end of the day we're rebooting every 24 hours. But we do have this obsession, don't we, Andy, with the end of the year?
Yeah. Well, there's going to be all kinds of lists, end of year, end of decade lists, all over the place in the next week.
Oh, there are. As a matter of fact, do you ever watch CBS? Is it CBS Sunday Morning where it's all the warm and fuzzy and all the really great stuff?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called? I'm going to look right now, guys. We're talking about this. I think it's CBS Sunday Morning, which is a little bit bizarre because I record it and I love it. So they, I can't log in right now, but I think it's CBS Sunday Morning. Sunday Morning. I always watch that, and then I always listen to the Mormon Tabernacle Choir because I just love hearing that music. That's my Sunday morning.
Nice.
Well, they had the list of all the famous folks who had died this year, and there was some classics in there. I mean, like it was really, really fascinating to hear who passed away this year. Some of them, the obscure ones. Do you remember the show Airwolf in the 80s?
Oh,
Airwolf,
yeah.
and it was the helicopter. The guy flew the helicopter.
Yep.
What was his name? Jan Michael Vincent. Yeah, dead at 73. Airwolf star. I remembered his name. I loved that show. You know.
Yeah.
So if you haven't seen that, guys, it's I think it's CBS Sunday Morning 2019 recap is probably what it's called. That's what I would look for. It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
You know, but we get to the end of a decade, and it does make you. Do you do resolutions?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Jesse, resolutions.
Somewhat. I'm not too serious about resolutions because I think I look at that stuff all throughout the year.
I hope you're looking at it every day.
Yeah, but not really.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I say that I won't, but there is something motivating about coming into 12/31 and going, well, this is the year that I'm gonna, I don't know, right?
Although you know what we're doing this year is instead of resolutions, we're really looking at our daily practices, my wife and I, and we have the 6 different major areas of our lives and what habits we're going to really work on this year, and we're going to plaster that up in our master bathroom and look at it every day.
Yeah,
To
because
see how
it's
we're doing.
because your life is just made up of your daily habits.
And I saw a thing today that said, instead of I'm going to quit this or I'm going to stop doing this, maybe we add things. I'm going to start
doing,
things. Like
Yeah,
I'm going
what
to
do you need to
start
start,
maybe
what do you
being
need to stop?
friendlier to my neighbors.
and
or-
that's where we're at. Is what are we going to do?
Yeah.
It's like Leah always says, well, quit saying you're sorry and just change your behavior.
Right.
Yeah. The best apology ever, Jesse.
Right? It's to change
You mean your wife
behavior.
would say such a thing?
Oh, yeah.
And by the way, show today brought to you by our friends at Sunwood Homes. Visit them at mysunwoodhomes.com. And for what it's worth, the people listening to Facebook Live are going to enjoy this. Tonight at 12:31, at 11:59 and 59 seconds, our $7,500 free upgrade incentive ends at Sunwood Homes. It was a fall incentive. This is kind of amazing. We have reserved or sold a dozen properties in the last, 60 days?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it has gone
Probably
crazy.
last 45 days.
Yeah, 45 days. We have gone crazy in there. So we now have reserved lot 6, lot 7, lot 17, 29, 20, 28, 27, closed on lot
30.
10 on December 26th, lot 21, 30, lot 21's a spec. I mean, this is crazy. So we actually, as of this morning, at the recording of the show, we now only have 14 lots available in there. 7 rim lots, view lots, and 7 interior lots. So the $7,500 is expiring. If anyone's listening to Facebook Live today and they want to make a reservation, they can do that before end of day business today. And a reservation at Sunwood Homes to build your home in Brookwood. It's the Brookwood subdivision. It's $2,500 and it's totally refundable for 30 days. So it's really risk-free, right? So, and this isn't like, the money back guarantees. Hey, Andy, we're going to ship you this thing and you're going to use it for months. And then if you don't like it, you can send it back to us, but you're going to have to go through a lot of problems. How many people actually ever ship the thing back?
I don't know
Right.
anybody. Yeah.
Right? No, it's actually risk-free. So even if you're listening to this on the 1st, on the 2nd, we are coming up. We're working on a new incentive for 2020, and we don't know what that is yet, but a little something fun to keep you motivated. Reservation is risk-free. It's 30 days, and you can figure out if you want to build a home out there or whatever. So visit them at mysunwoodhomes.com. I love Brookwood. The more time I spend out there, the more I'm like, oh, maybe I should live out here. So there you go. All right, guys. Let's get down to it. We had some controversial talk this morning before we got in here, didn't we? This
We did.
Show.
We did.
The shooting at which church was it? Freeway?
Freeway Church of Christ or something.
Freeway.
Like that.
Is it like by a freeway?
In Fort Worth, Texas.
We all saw that video. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole too far, but it is. Andy had a killer question on the show this morning, which was, tell our listeners, if they didn't, hear the show.
Well, if your church tells you not to bring a gun to church, it's prohibited for members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Will you still carry your gun, concealed carry your gun to church?
Yeah, very
Knowing
predominant
that
thing.
you're being disobedient in doing it.
Yeah, what a killer question, and of course everyone saw. Most everyone's seen that video.
Yeah.
A guy shot 2 people in this church, followed by, a parishioner, security guard.
Volunteer
Security guard pulls out his gun and shoots the guy dead.
The whole thing lasted 6 seconds.
6 seconds. Another half dozen guys within the next 10 seconds stood up with their concealed weapons.
Wow.
I'm going to ask a question. If that guy did they or did they not stop another dozen deaths?
It's hard to say because shotguns, you don't
Right.
know how big, how
Right.
many shells it can carry, but you got to figure at least a few more.
Yes, theoretically. So what a great controversial question. So LDS church, most churches are going to tell you can't bring a gun in. It's just
Yeah.
LDS church is fun because it's
Unless you're in Texas.
Yeah, unless you're in Texas. So here's the thing. I don't own a gun. Whenever we talk about gun control, I love to make the disclaimer. I actually think my opinion's a valid
You own no
opinion.
gun.
No
Not
guns.
one. Okay.
I don't even own a gun. So come to my home at 123 Banana Street,
I'll meet you with
I have a
my-
golf club.
I'll meet you with my broom.
but I'll beat your whatever.
You got a baseball bat.
The problem is this. Who's going to stop the bad guys? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to take all the guns and incinerate them in a fire. No, you're not.
No.
Okay? Drugs have been illegal for how long, guys?
Long time.
forever.
Jesse, has it ever stopped anyone from using drugs? Well, has it ever stopped the flow of drugs? No. Is the flow of drugs increased or decreased over the last 30 years? Give me a break.
Increased by far.
So it's funny because I don't own a gun. I don't hunt, right? I'm not that guy. Oh, all these right-wing Trump fans who just want to shoot animals.
Yeah.
I've never shot an animal. Well, I shot some birds with a BB gun down in Washington Fields when I was a
That's
child.
it.
And
Well, you're on that side of the fence.
I actually
now.
do feel kind of bad because it was just for no reason.
Right.
But I get hunting. I get it. I have no issue with it. But I'm not one of those people
Mhm.
that fall in that kind of the stereotype.
Sure.
But what the bad guys are always going to have guns. So then what? I don't know. I don't know what they'll ever do. Gun control's never going to be solved.
And we could go into a whole other thing of, okay, where's the bad guy? How do you define bad guy
Yeah,
versus
define a bad
good guy?
guy.
And where's the gray area and stuff? But we don't have time for that.
I'm
'cause
going to
I
go
wanna
with
know
bad.
what the most
I'm
valuable.
gonna, I know.
is.
I'm going to go with bad guy as a guy who shows up in a church and starts shooting people on
That's a really bad guy.
I'm going to go with that.
All right.
So fun, killer topic. I wish I would have heard that show. All right, let's talk about this. Most expensive home in Washington County in 2019.
Yes,
drum
drum
roll,
roll.
please. Brrr. Jesse, what was it? Where was it?
3,000 or 3 million.
$3,000. Whoa, values have fallen.
$3,030,000, and it was actually, drum roll please, in Hurricane.
Oh,
Hurricane.
we should have done.
Yep.
Um,
Right.
and it's very public, so we can
Down
totally
south.
talk about it. Scott Nielsen RV,
Okay.
moved to Hawaii, is what I understood. It was his home.
So he sold his house for
Yeah,
$3
sold his
million
house.
plus.
Yeah, sorry, Scott.
Yeah.
It's public. I mean, he had it on Facebook once a week himself, saying, "Hey, someone buy my house." Dusty Wright, our own Keller Williams Realty.
Yep.
I'm an owner in the brokerage, by the way. Larkin Group is part of Keller Williams Realty.
Great.
Dusty Wright, great guy, great agent. Took them 259 days, start to finish. Not unexpected, right? $3 million home on 17.07 acres. And what it is, Andy, it's the home, if you go to Sand Hollow Reservoir, look to the east of the lake, and there's one home on the mountain above the reservoir.
Okay.
So what's
The
interesting
closest thing to a
here is
Lakeview property in Washington County.
I often talk about, if you really dig into the market, a home will go under contract pretty quickly once it hits the right price. So once they got to the right price, or did a
Well, where
price
did they start?
adjustment,
And I'm going to tell people about
They,
this.
they
house.
started at 3.2, so they didn't even drop it very much. They dropped it by 50 grand, but within 60 days of the price adjustment, they were under contract.
Wow.
So finding the sweet spot in the market is critical at every price point.
Yep, they started at 3.2.
At 3.2,
Dropped it to 3.15, sold it for $3,030,000. So they sold it. Now this is the funny part. Remember last week's show, right, Andy? They took a hit. They took $120,000 off
Yeah,
their listing price.
right.
But see, understand this, folks. This is $3 million, not $300,000. $300,000, you might negotiate 5 or 10 grand.
Yep,
$3 million, you're going to negotiate 120.
yeah.
Percentage, yeah.
That's
Nothing.
still
It's just a fraction.
that's still within 1% of their asking price.
Now, I'm not familiar with this home. Can you
I'm
guys
going to show
tell
it to
me
you.
why?
4%. It bought 96%. So
Why was it $3 million? What? I mean,
Six,
obviously
you
the
ready?
view.
So 6,499 square feet, 17.07 acres.
Huge
Private.
property.
So they own the mountain
Yeah.
above Sand Hollow Reservoir. Kind of phenomenal. Their own lake. Remember I talked about a lake? Their
Their own
own lake. 15 acre feet of water, a fish duck pond, private well of 15 acre feet of water, solar panels, pickleball court, basketball courts. Some of it's what
You
you'd
name it,
expect.
they had it.
Propane tanks. Basically, this thing was set up to be. Here you go. To be. You want me to? I can email it to you.
I can call it up, yeah.
Isn't that amazing that was it's funny after all of our conversation and in life, and Scott's a well-known guy. And I was told he was moving to
Right.
Hawaii. What's your email? What is it? Why isn't it pulling up?
A Griffin.
That's why. There it is. There's a link. You can see it. Most expensive. $3 million. Now, interestingly, and that was in Hurricane, but it's not really Hurricane, right? It's a complete anomaly, for sure.
So the next one is at 3,025,000 in
5,000
items in Entrada.
Yeah, I was just thinking to myself, there was one or two, but apparently there was more.
Yeah,
There was two of them over. There's quite a few over 2 million.
$3 million in Entrada. Everything you would absolutely, totally expect. Former parade home. Epic, grand, amazing. Probably built by Split Rock Homes because they've done most of the incredible stuff out there. But, there could have been someone else. 360-degree views of Snow Canyon State Park sitting on 2.16 acres in the lava flow. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
I mean, truly, folks, do you want us to share these? I think before the day's out, we can put these into the feed, but but we can do that later. All right. So Jesse, what about the least expensive home?
So now we took one out because if we're looking at Washington County, then you can get one up by Kolob for what was it, 30,000?
Well, you 74,000 for a cabin.
In St. George, it's
Mm-hmm.
80,000, and it's in Spring Tree Garden condos.
Sold one of those.
Actually,
that?
that was us.
Bingo.
It was Robert McFarland.
Want to let you know that we sold the Larkin Group the cheapest home in Washington
That's
County.
right.
I got to be real. I wish that we had sold the most expensive home in Washington County. We would have made a couple of extra dollars. 80 grand, Spring Tree Gardens. Give them the details on it, Jesse. What can someone buy for 80 grand?
80,000. This one was a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, 588 square feet.
Ooh, little. Not that little.
I've been in it. I've been in the unit. Robert was the what we call listing agent, or he was the client facing for Heidi Flannery. Isn't that funny that I know her name? We closed 148 transactions this year. We tried for 150. Jesse, the data today told me 148.
So close.
148 transactions. I knew that woman by name. I don't know all of them by name, but I knew her. An investor out of the Northwest. I think she's in Oregon, and tired, worn out landlord. And we talked last week's
We had
show.
quite a few of those this year.
Yeah, we talked last year that some of the biggest winners in this whole entire market are burnt out landlords.
Yeah.
And they're winners because they have properties that have appreciated exponentially over the last decade. And while they were increasing value, their tenants were paying them rent, income monthly, and paying down their mortgage, or paying, if they don't have a mortgage, paying against the capital they put in the home, right? So that relationship of value going up, what you put into it going down, because a tenant's giving you money. It's the most brilliant. You want to hear a scheme, and you don't even need Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, to give you the scheme. The greatest investment scheme of all time is buying a piece of real estate completely illegally and putting a regular person, family in it legally, and having them pay your mortgage and rent every month forever legally. It's actually the greatest investment scheme ever hatched, and it's not even a scheme.
No.
Isn't it classic? It's so classic. So they were the big winners this year. There's lots of winners, but I'm telling you what, tired, burnt in that, and I love to say it that way, tired, burnt out landlords actually really won this year. Followed by anybody who bought a condo or a townhome at least 7 or 8 years ago. Holy crap.
You know what's interesting is the ones that are the most tired and burnt out are the ones that are trying to manage them themselves.
Always.
They have the most problems of any landlords I've ever seen.
Thank you. That's killer
And they end
perspective.
up costing themselves thousands of dollars when they were trying to save hundreds.
Yep.
What does it cost to hire a company to manage your
Anywhere
10% of
from-
your monthly rent?
Yeah, anywhere from 6
Maybe
to
8.
10%.
150
8 or
bucks?
10%.
Yeah.
Something like that?
But here's what people think. So you have two types of people who don't want to hire a management company. Number one is they're already, like, the tenant's not even covering the rent, and so they're like, well, Andy, I can't pay you $150 a month to manage it because my mortgage is $1,100 and my tenant only pays me $1,000. I'm already upside down.
Yeah.
The other one is completely opposite, isn't it, Jesse?
Mhm.
It's the do-it-yourself-selfer, old-timer.
I got this.
They probably own a few dozen rentals, cash, free and clear, and I'll be damned if I'm going to pay anybody 5 cents to pay this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Or
Right.
they'll get like a neighbor to manage it for them. And I've had 2 of those this year that I think it ended up costing him, I bet, over the last 5 years, $20,000 in
Oops.
rents
Yeah.
because they were so under
It's a
rented.
disaster. So most expensive home, coming back here, $80,000 for
That's the least
A
expensive.
condo, yeah, in Washington County.
Mhm.
Over there at Spring Tree Gardens, that's off of 2450 East, quite near the Stadium 10 theaters.
Yep.
1 bed, 1 bath, 588 square feet, $120 a month to manage all of your grounds, the exterior of the building. You got a swimming pool you can swim in, and a pool and a swimming pool, a clubhouse, and a hot tub. That's what you're going to get at 80 grand.
Do you have the data on a stand-alone home?
Yep, Jesse,
versus
give
a
it to
condo?
us. Now, well,
Standalone
yeah, give us.
home.
Now, let me tell you a couple of things you could buy cheap. Now, what we did is we qualified this only as condo, townhouse, or single family. If you want to buy, you want to know the actual cheapest property in Washington County. That wasn't the actual cheapest. The actual cheapest property was a $32,000 trailer mobile home in Dixie Downs.
Okay.
$32,000. The reason we don't put that in there is one in like 500 buyers is even thinking about that, right? So we're saying for the public, what do they want to buy? They want a condo or a townhome or a single family home. There's definitely a segment of the market that want a mobile home. But for instance, if you go to our website, folks, if you want to look at all of the averages for the whole year, you go to soldinstgeorge.com. You can look at the average sales price in Hurricane Valley,
Yep.
Washington City only, St. George only, Ivins only, Santa Clara only. Hey, good morning. We got people peeping in on us. We got a peeping Tom in here while trying to shoot a radio show. Washington County as a whole, right? So one thing you need to understand is it says, there's a disclaimer, single family condos and townhomes. We've excluded land, building lots, and we've excluded mobile homes.
and
They just throw off the average too much. They don't reflect. You get what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
You
for
know,
sure.
Like,
So if you want to look at just single-family homes, you could have bought a single-family home in Racing Ranches for $80,000, 1,352 square feet.
Really?
But I'm assuming
How-
that had to be cash, and there was a lot of renovation.
How much
that
was
had to
it?
be done. 80 grand.
yeah, that would have been a home that had some serious problems.
Mm.
Andy, what I'd tell you, if you could find a single family home under 150 that didn't need to be, okay, of course they need to be renovated, but if you're finding anything under 150 that didn't need a top to bottom renovation,
Yeah, you'd be
it doesn't
surprised.
exist. It doesn't exist. Right now, if you want to buy, for our listeners out there, single family home that's 1,200 feet, and it either does or doesn't have a 2-car garage, it's $200,000 to $230,000. That's real. That's the nature of our market. So let me share this as we move into 2020 in the last 2 minutes. Because look, at the end of the day, don't people want to know, well, what are you guys forecasting? Okay, let me give you a couple things I'm forecasting, and I want you to understand this. We are moving into a recession as an economy. A recession is just three consecutive quarters of a downward trend in economic growth, right? It doesn't mean anything about the housing market. The housing market has actually appreciated in the last several recessions. However, we are 8 years
8 years in.
into solid, crazy real estate growth. I think that's going to stop. We have an election year coming. Election years always cause havoc.
Yep.
Okay, home prices I think will be flat. I'm looking at some of the stuff. Chief economist at Realtor.com says I think nationwide you can look at flat home prices with an increase of less than 1%. Less than 1%. We're topped out. If I'm wrong, I don't know what I'll do, but we are topped out in this market for now, nationally as well, right? So, look, director of research at Zillow, last thing, if current trends hold, then slower means healthier and smaller means affordable. Smaller homes, slower growth. The end. That's why when you go to northern Utah, there are just townhomes going up everywhere along the freeway. Guys, Jesse, do you agree or disagree?
I disagree. I think we're going to see about 3 to 4% increase because you can't stop a locomotive that fast. It doesn't just stop.
It's already been slowing down. You're
It's
forgetting
slowing
that.
down, but
Yeah,
I think
you're
in the
forgetting.
next year we'll see probably a 3 or 4% increase, but it is still slowing down. I
We'll
don't think
see.
it'll go flat.
We'll see. And by the way, average sales prices, don't be misled because the average price went up. The average price could go up because 4 people sold $4 million homes. Right?
Yeah.
Don't be misled by that data. Guys, visit us at soldinstgeorge.com, soldinstgeorge.com to just confidentially ask about your real estate situation. You can book 30 minutes with me, Jeremy Larkin, right there, and ask me anything about the real estate market.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Over and
Happy
out.
New Year.
Thank you, Jesse. Thank you, Andy. New decade.